Welcome to Heal into Happy. I invite you to take an adventure with me into your very own universe as I guide you to go within, release your fears, and become empowered to create a life you love. I am your host, Lark Allen. My intention is to help you shine a light on everything that is keeping you from being truly free. You can expect this healing journey to be filled with love, laughter, clarity, and fun. Are you ready to take a leap of faith? Let's go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to welcome you to Season 2 of Heal into Happy. It is such a dream come true to have created Season 1. Just a recap, in Season 1, you will be able to explore all of the ways that I have found over my lifetime of ways that have helped me heal into happiness. It was very healing to create that first season. I loved sharing all of my mindset practices and just really opening my heart up to all of my listeners to remind everyone that a lot of the things that we feel like are going to break us actually break us open to really having a heart that is big enough to heal from all of the things that have happened and to end up really appreciating all of our trials and all of our tribulations, because they end up making us so much more powerful, and all of the things that we end up going through can be what is our guiding light to help others heal through. It has been my greatest honor to share all of the things, and I decided that I feel like Season 2 would be an amazing time to get to know people that are near and dear to me, to interview them, to get their take on how they've healed into happiness, exploring different ways that they are thriving through life, and just really exploring other people's journeys. So I'm really looking forward to doing that within this season. And my first guest is actually somebody that found me after my Heaven on Earth podcast that I did in Season 1. And I just finished interviewing him, and I wanted to create this and just give you a little bit of information before I share that interview with you. I just find it really like I'm being divinely led by God, because we all are in every now moment. We just need to be open to that divine guidance. That the 3 questions that Martin Rutte created and he has been exploring the last 30 years of his life are really impactful, and they really go along with my desire to anchor in more Christed light onto this earth plane. And so everyone that I interview in this Season 2, I am going to ask his 3 very simple questions to everyone, and I look forward to seeing what comes from these questions being asked and going up into the collective consciousness of humanity. The more that we are exploring ways to create heaven on earth, the more that we are deciding to live our best lives, to heal, to surrender, to love more deeply, to keep our hearts more open in every now moment, the more that we will be creating heaven on earth together. We'll be healed, we'll be happy, we'll be growing, we'll be curious, and I'm just really excited about that. So before I started the interview, I wanted to go ahead and give you his 3 very simple questions and invite you to journal and explore these questions on your own and share them with others. And let's really just co-create these ideas of what heaven on earth is for each of us, and to normalize the fact that we've all experienced moments where we feel like we're in heaven. that we're having so much bliss. When he asked me the question, the first thing that came to mind was my daughter Stella being born and her being put to my chest. So I invite you to think about what heaven on earth experiences have you had and acknowledge them, focus on them, feel into them. When you feel like you're having a dark moment, return to those feelings and remind yourself how amazing it feels to have those moments and allow more of them in. I feel like we're being asked to turn towards the light that is within us, and that we are being presented two different pathways right now. One that is inorganic, that is full of fear and power grabbing and is very inverted. And I feel like there's another path that we're being offered that I feel God being a part of, holding our hand, reminding us that we are the light, that we are created in God's image, and that we are here to remember that and to come home to that knowing. And so I invite you to walk on this path filled with love, filled with light, filled with freedom with me, hand in hand, walking one another home to a beautiful place that we are co-creating together. So here are Martin's 3 very simple questions. After I read them to you, I invite you to just feel into them, ground into this now moment, and enjoy the interview that I had with him. Question number 1, tell me a time when you experienced heaven on earth. Question number 2, here is a magic wand, and with this magic wand, you can create heaven on earth. What is heaven on earth for you? Question number 3, what simple, easy, concrete step will you take in the next 24 hours to make heaven on earth real? Such powerful yet simple questions that the more of us that are committed to feeling into in every now moment, huge shifts will happen for our collective. I am excited to explore these questions throughout the next year. And I just wanted to let you all know this season 2 will be happening bi-weekly. So you can expect to find my podcast, Heal into Happy, coming out every 2 weeks, starting from this week forward, as we explore everything that we're going to explore together in season 2 of Heal into Happy. I would love for you to leave comments about what you think about this interview and about what we are exploring in season 2 of Heal into Happy. And that is all about co-creating heaven on earth together. So without further ado, here is my interview with Martin Rutte as we discuss creating heaven on earth together. I am so excited to have Martin Rutte on my podcast, Heal into Happy, for my second season. This season is all about exploring other people's perspectives as we all are bringing in heaven on earth into this earth plane. And I really love the way that Martin found me from searching heaven on earth on all of the internet, and that's how we found each other. So I feel like we're very kindred souls, and I'm going to begin by sharing about Martin, and then we are going to get started. I'm so excited. So welcome, Martin.
Thank you very much. Let me tell you how I find you.
Yes, please do.
There's something called Google Alerts.
Okay.
And I have the phrase heaven on earth put in there. It's a free service. And so they tell me every day where the phrase heaven on earth is used around the English-speaking world, in books, websites, podcasts, whatever. And that's the way I connect with people. And that's how you showed up.
I love that so much. Yeah, last season of my podcast, I specifically created space for more and more of us to feel into the fact that we have this capability and to encourage all of us to explore it more and more. So I love that you are going to be a lot of third-party validation for that today.
Yes, I am. As are you for me, as are we for each other.
Okay, so first I want to just let our audience know all about Martin. Martin Rutte is an international speaker, author, and management consultant. As president of Livelihood, a management consulting firm with offices in Canada and New Mexico, he explores the deeper meaning of work and its contribution to society. Martin has worked with such organizations as the World Bank, Sony Pictures Entertainment, Southern California Edison, Virgin Records, ASO Petroleum, and London Life Insurance, helping them expand their outlook and position themselves for the future. He is the first Canadian to address the Corporate Leadership and Ethics Forum at the Harvard Business School, returning for 4 consecutive years as a keynote speaker. He was the co-founder and chair of the board of Canada's first academic center for spirituality and the workplace at the Sobey School of Business in Halifax. He is also a past member of the editorial board of the Journal of Management, Spirituality, and Religion. Martin is a co-author of the New York Times business bestseller, Chicken Soup for the Soul at Work, with over 1 million copies sold and translated in 15 languages. His newest book is Project Heaven on Earth, the 3 simple questions that will help you change the world easily. This book unlocks your soul's longing for a world that works. It empowers the new story of what it means to be a human and what it means to be humanity. Martin will help you discover what heaven on earth is for you and what simple, easy, and concrete actions you can take in the next 24 hours to begin making that real. And I will also link in the show notes, www.projectheavenonearth.com and www.martinrutte.com so that everyone can have an opportunity to explore Martin's work more fully. So Martin, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you.
Lark, I think we can end the interview right now. We're both just happy to meet. I think the joy is when you meet somebody who's doing the same thing as you are, when you're both on the same path, you don't know each other physically in this world, but yet you've been together many, many times in, I don't know, past lives or whatever. You just like fall into it. I mean, you and I had coffee yesterday, right? Not really, but yeah.
Yes, our higher selves were already enjoying that we were getting together. So absolutely, that's so cool. So I would love to hear about how your background and then what you're doing now all came together. That I'm so curious.
Well, as you said in the introduction, most of my work has been as a consultant with the major companies that you spoke about in Canada and mostly in the United States. Mm-hmm. I'm a dual citizen. And I began to look at the issue of spirituality and work about 30 years ago and was really foundational in moving that conversation into the world of business. And then about 30 years ago, something like that, Lark, I was going to do a talk on spirituality and work. And I was sitting by myself, off in the separate room before I went on, and just thinking, meditating, praying, and saying, if every business in the world is spiritual, is that what you want? And I said, no, if we could transform business, because business is the temporal power in the world, then we could transform the world. And then this thought popped into my mind, you mean heaven on earth? And my first thought was, oh my God, you can't say that. You can't say heaven on earth. You nuts. But then I thought, well, wait a minute. I could talk to you about hell on earth, can't I? The pandemic, environmental situation in the world, the refugees, God forbid, the threat of nuclear weapons, all the stuff, the turmoil in the world, all the hells on earth, that's permissible to talk about. So why can't I talk about heaven on earth? And I just became intrigued with that notion. So, well, what is it? What am I talking about? I don't even know what I'm talking about. And I'm not a really big reader. I'm a big interactor. So I started going to people and saying, what's heaven on earth? What's heaven on earth? Because literally, I had no idea even what I was talking about. It was such a new inquiry for me. So I just kept going to people and say, what's heaven on earth? What's heaven on earth? What's heaven on earth? Over and over and over and over, so that I could learn, because I didn't have any, people were afraid, well, Martin, you're trying to shove some particular religious perspective, or no, I want to learn from you. What is it? And so doing that hundreds and hundreds of times, I came up with these 3 questions. And you and I didn't talk about this prior to the interview, but are you willing to answer my questions?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you for going for it. All right. And as I'm asking you, I want you, the listener, to answer the same question. So here's question one.
Mm-hmm.
Recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was going on?
Yes, I love that question. And it definitely, one of the major points was my daughter being put on my chest after I delivered her. It was such an amazing experience. And I had infertility issues, and my husband is a fertility doctor, and I was a fertility nurse and a labor and delivery nurse. And so the broad spectrum of events that happened to co-create her and bring her in, it just was the most divine spiritual experience I've ever had.
Very clear. Very clear. All right. Second question. Imagine you have in your hand a magic wand. And with this wand, you can actually create heaven on earth. What's heaven on earth for you?
Oh, that's so beautiful. Everyone is feeling loved and nourished and healed from past traumas, and really embracing the fact that all of our traumas actually get us to the point of creating what we desire. And there's healing centers everywhere, and organic foods everywhere, and everybody has hug time where we all stop to embrace one another, and we realize that we're all one big family. And when you look at things from a divine perspective, we are all just walking each other home, and that home is what I imagine that we're co-creating when we talk about heaven on earth.
Very lovely. All right. I'm going to come back to each of the questions in a moment. Third question. What simple, easy, concrete step will you take in the next 24 hours to have more of that?
I will make sure that I'm letting everyone know that I love, how much I love them, why I love them, being a mirror for them and their own divinity, a lot more hugs, a lot more laughter, and a lot more connection, eye to eye.
Fabulous. Fabulous. All right. Now let's go through one by one.
Okay.
Question one. What I said was recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was going on? And what you so beautifully did, Lark, was talk about the birth of your daughter and her being put on your chest and all the stuff that had to go through you and your husband to actually get to that point in time. What you didn't do to me is you didn't ask me, Martin, what do you mean by heaven on earth? Lark, nobody asked me that question. How do you know what I'm talking about? I didn't define it. And yet you were able to answer the question immediately, right? It's because you have within you what I call the already knowing about what heaven on earth is. And so when I say recall a time you experienced heaven on earth, whammo, you go right to that time when your daughter was born and placed on your chest. So there is an already knowing within you about what it is, or you couldn't have answered the question. And I didn't define it.
I love that. And so every person that you've asked, and you've asked hundreds of people, thousands, they immediately go to exactly a magical moment in their life. I love that.
Well, very occasionally people will say, oh, what do you mean by heaven on earth? I will say, no, you tell me. I will never answer that question. And then they tell me, yes, because Lark, people know the answer to that question. Okay, so that's one. There's an already knowing with you. Then we go to question two, which is imagine you have a magic wand and with it you can create heaven on earth. What is heaven on earth? And you answered very beautifully that everyone is loved, is nourished. I wrote some of these down. All trauma is healed. And once all of that's occurring, then you can create what you desire. There are healing centers. There's organic food. There's hug time. We are all one big family, and we are walking each other home. Now, the purpose of the magic wand is to take out the necessity of having to know how you're going to do this. And if you don't have to know how you're going to create heaven on earth, then you just go right to the answer. And again, notice, I didn't tell you. I didn't try to impose my answer of heaven on earth on you. It came out of your divine soul because you know. And imagine pre-COVID, a room 200, 300 people live, or even now when I do a webinar with, multiple, every time somebody shares what their heaven on earth is, it opens the space even deeper for others to share, even though the answers are different. Okay. So the magic wand removes the necessity of having to know how. And without the necessity of having to know how, bang, bingo, you go right into the what, which is where I want you to go. And then we go to the third question. What simple, easy, concrete step will you take in the next 24 hours to move that forward? Because I don't want to just leave you at answer number 2, which is the discovery of what heaven on earth is for you. Because for me, that's not enough. I want you to actually engage in the next 24 hours in making that real. How? By doing a simple, easy, concrete action. Simple and easy and concrete by your definition, not mine. In none of this did I tell you. In all of this, did you tell you?
Yeah, that's really powerful. Inspired action steps for anything that we're creating is so important. Sometimes we can get stuck in the imagination and not bring it and anchor it down into what we're co-creating.
Exactamonto. And now is the time, Lark. Now is the time to have, I say, to have heaven on earth be the new story of what it means to be a human individual and the new story of what it means to be humanity, the collective.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like there's 2 very clear paths that we can choose to go down. And that is one filled with fear. And as you said, and I always find it so interesting, you can talk about all of the negative things and so many people will chime in. I spend a lot of my time posting and creating space for the opposite, where I'm helping people feel into their divinity. And it is, I'm just excited that we are the change makers that are making this more commonplace for people to feel into. But for some reason, people seem to feel more comfortable going negative than they do positive. But in this now moment with everything that's going on in the world, it's really like you have to choose. Are you going to choose fear or are you going to choose love? And so.
Beautifully said. Are you going to choose to continue to create hell on earth for you and others? Or are you going to choose to create heaven on earth? The issue, Lark, I mean, how do you start a new story? Let's say you're listening and you say, okay, I want to start to create heaven on earth, but I don't know how. The way you start is by just saying, declaring, committing, I'm in. As of this moment, I'm co-creating heaven on earth. Remember when President Kennedy said, we're going to have a man on the moon in 10 years? What? That's crazy. We don't know how to do that. We've never done. We don't have the stuff to do this. The rockets, da. Kennedy said, thank you for sharing. A man on the moon in 10 years. Let's go. Oh,
yes.
Hey, let's go. And we know how to do that. We know how to do grand visions and make them real. And because of all the hoo-ha in the world today, we think that we've lost that agency. And it's not true. Because the agency to create hell on earth, that's you. The agency to create heaven on earth, that's you.
Yeah.
And so now is the time. Now is the time to get going on this. I say we don't have the time to wait anymore. There's too much that needs to be addressed and too much that you, the listener, you know what you're here to do with respect to heaven on earth. Good. Start today and make it simple. Make it so simple that you go, well, I can do that. Good. That's what I want you to do, because once you start doing that, simple, easy, concrete for you, you're in. And the momentum begins and begins. When I started 30 years ago, are you nuts? Heaven on earth? Well, we've never had heaven on earth. We don't know how to do that. That's impossible. Look at the hunger. Look at the war. Look at that. And had I said to people, oh, you know what? You're right. Forget it. I'm going to go curl up in a little ball in a dark closet and watch TV and do drugs and drink and, gamble and whatever, any other ways people have to check out of life. Or I said, okay, good. You think it can't be done? Great. Let's go do it.
Yeah, I feel like I see ourselves as birds needing to fly from the nest and go out of spiritual infancy and into spiritual maturity by declaring.
Love that. That's
Yeah.
a fabulous phrase. I've never heard it before. Spiritual maturity. That's exactly what's being asked for.
Yes.
Beautifully said. I'm saying that we have entered what I'm calling the era of God.
Yes. Yes. And when you look at the Hopi prophecies and so many people that say that we are entering the golden age of miracles, and, I really believe that God is scooting us in that direction. And this is actually the last portion of, the negative having its last little tantrum to see if they can lock us in. But we are so free that we can choose to suffer or we can choose to do this co-creation. And so, I'm really excited that more and more of us are feeling into, okay, I'm unhooking from all of that and I am going on my own way and I'm creating. And I feel like there's a lot of us that are starting to light up that path.
Yes.
So it doesn't even need to be scary. Like, we are here. We're here to support, love, and encourage, more and more co-creating.
Let me speak about co-creating because you've used that word a couple of times. When I say co-creating, I mean co-creating with yourself, your divine self, co-creating with another, like you and I are doing in this moment, co-creating with others, and co-creating with God.
Yes.
All of that is co-creation.
Absolutely. You have been listening to part 1 of my interview with Martin Rutte. Please join me on the next episode of Heal into Happy for part 2, as Martin shares all of the amazing projects that have already been created because of his 3 simple questions. I look forward to continuing to explore all of the ways that we can co-create heaven on earth together by creating lives we love, by simply doing more of what lights us up each and every day. Until next time, I am offering you so much love as I celebrate how magnificent you truly are. Thank you for joining me today on Heal into Happy. My prayer is that you have gained more insight into your healing journey and that you are one step closer to loving yourself more fully in this now moment. And if you could do me a favor, please leave me a 5-star review over on iTunes. My passion is empowering others on their healing journey, and with your review, you may help others struggling to heal find this message. Be sure to visit me at healintohappy.com for past episodes and more ways to connect with me. Also, please always remember that I am offering you so much love and light as I celebrate the divine sovereign being that I see in you.